continuing with Michael Hechter's theory of rational choice theory, we move on to group solidarity. Now, solidarity implies some kind of cohesiveness, some kind of unity, integration of the group. Now, these groups have certain levels of solidarity. Maybe some have high level of solidarity, others may have low level of solidarity. Now, this solidarity has a connection with the control of the behavior of the people. So that determines the control capacity of the group. Now, this control capacity can be different, let's say, in two types of groups. The one is the compensatory group and the other is obligatory group. Compensatory group is the one where the grouping produces joint goods for market and does not consume itself. So they are producing the commodities, goods and services not for their personal consumption or for the consumption of the group, but for selling them, let us say, in the market, or they are producing it for some other consumers. So in this group, when there is a in this group, lots of people might be involved. So in this group, it is assumed that the group solidarity with respect will be low, as well as the group control capacity will be reduced. So we see that maybe there is less control. People are working for profit. They might be selling their labor, and their, let us say, profit for sale determines their level of conformity to the rules and regulations of the society or the norms of the group at the lower level. So compensation in this situation bought for the labor provided. There is low dependence of, let's say, on group, and since there is low dependence on the compensation to the members on the group, it is dependence on others. Therefore, we see, or Hechter says, that there is low level of social solidarity. So it reduces the extensiveness of norms. So the person can sell his labor, and he might be, let's say, open to, let's say, move out, and that's where he might have a rationale to, let's say, leave the group if, let's say, compensation is not according to his or her expectations. The individual might leave the group. So obligatory, compared with this compensatory groups, we see the obligatory groups. Now this group produces goods for the members' own consumption. It's rational to create obligations for contribution from members. Since the goods are being produced for its own consumption, then maybe it's everybody's, let's say, duty or obligation to contribute to the production of those goods. The smallest, let's say, level of that group may be a family, where all the members might be busy in the production of goods and services, typically in a rural society, in an agricultural kind of society. In certain occupations also, the whole family works for the production of some goods, and they consume the, let's say, outcome of all that. So there is a hard dependence on joint goods. So there is let's say, obligation and even incentive to, let's say, conform to the norms of the group. So we see that there is not easy alternative to leave, and since there is no alternative or limited alternatives, so sanctions are very strict. So if somebody violates the norms of this group, then it is very costly for him. It might be very expensive for him. He might be kicked out of the group. He might be expelled from the group. So we see that in this group, there is a high level of social solidarity. We see that where the goods are produced for others' consumption, which is part of the compensatory group, there is, let us say, in most of the cases, these are big groups. We see that in obligatory groups, we see that they are at a smaller level, and they provide goods for their members that cannot be obtained somewhere else. So therefore, there is a high level of integration, high level of cohesiveness, and we see that the extent to which members' private resources are contributed to a collective, let's say, cause or collective good. So there is a lot of unity, there is a lot of dependence on each other, and since there is a lot of dependence, then perhaps there is a lot of monitoring of the activities of the individuals or the members of the group, and any member who violates the norms, we see the sanctions come into operation. So that may not be possible in the large groups. So we see the examples like Gemeinschaft and Gesellschaft. These were the two, let us say, typologies or two concepts given by Tony's. Also like primary and secondary groups, the two concepts given by Cooley, and also mechanical and organic solidarity, the two concepts given by Durkheim. So in these, let us say, Gemeinschaft or primary group or mechanical solidarity, the group is small. We see that there is a high level of control, high level of monitoring of the behavior of the people, very strong sanctions with respect to the deviation from the norm of society. So high level of, let us say, control, and it all happens because there is a high level of group solidarity or social solidarity in the group. So we see that the nature of joint goods consumed by members or produced for the market determines the level of dependence of individuals on the group. So the more the dependence of the individuals on the group, greater the, let us say, monitoring, greater the control, stronger the sanctions, and higher the level of solidarity. So the level of group as well as the social solidarity determines the social control, and we see that high and low solidarity follow from rational choice of individuals.